This video is sponsored by EA. So today at EA Play, I got to play some of the brand new Battlefield 5 map Marita. So the question is it any good? Well guys, this is Billyeatworld again, and let's find out. Alright, so just before we start, the first thing I should mention is Operation Marita is going to be coming in Tides of War Chapter 4 sometime in July. So unfortunately, we will have to wait a little bit for this one, but don't worry because it does look like we're going to have roughly a new map at least every month for the rest of 2019. And also, if you missed it in the official live stream today, the other map we got to capture at EA Play, Al Sundan, is coming on June 27th, so that should keep us busy until then. And of course, after that, we're going to have the two close quarters maps, Provence and Lofoten Islands in August, as well as the reimagined Metro map, Operation Underground, sometime in October. As for Marita though, well, I've got to say I wanted to cover this one first because it was probably actually my favorite of everything we got to play today. And just to give you a background on what this one is all about, well, Operation Marita was actually the code name for the German invasion of Greece and the Balkans in April 1941. So this one is actually going to be set on the Greek and Albanian border, which gives it a rural Mediterranean feel just like Mercury, but in a very different way. And the main difference is that Marita is set in autumn, so it's got a very different color palette, which is a lot more earthy compared to the super bright sunny beaches of the island of Crete. Now, just before we go too much further, what you might not realize is that this map actually has been developed with a lot of the assets from the Tiralua war story. But in saying that though, that's about as far as the connection goes between these two, because as far as I know, Tiralua isn't actually even set in the same part of the world. But even so, I think it's still worth mentioning that Marita has got a lot in common with the war story. They both take place on fairly hilly terrain in and around small farming villages. And so for me, I think they've got a vibe somewhere between the BF4 version of Caspian Border and maybe Empire's Edge from Battlefield 1, which is definitely something unique in Battlefield 5. Most importantly though, I think what you'll notice straight away is that this means Marita has got a fair bit of verticality, which makes you think a lot harder about which lanes you'll want to take. And speaking of lanes, well, probably the thing I think I enjoyed the most is that it's almost like Fiel in that it's got a lot of flanking routes, which you'll see me using quite a lot in this particular gameplay. Also, another thing that's super interesting about this map is that it's also very linear, so even on Conquest, each team generally keeps to their own side of the map, which is the kind of map design we used to see a lot in the early days of the Battlefield franchise, before there were dedicated linear modes, like for example Rush or Frontlines. Now, just before we finish up, I should mention the other thing I really like about Marita is that it is a more close quarters map with a lot of trees and buildings to break up long sight lines. And so that really makes it a great infantry map, which I'm guessing means that it should be a good fit for smaller modes like TDM and Squad Conquest as well. Now, obviously vehicle players aren't probably going to like this one as much, but you can definitely see why it's being released just after Al Sundan, which is basically the opposite, right? So I guess it really depends on what kind of player you are, but I think in general, it is good enough that most players are going to have a lot of fun with Marita, even if they don't necessarily like the smaller scale maps. But finally, as for what I don't like about this map, well, honestly, once again, as with a lot of maps in Battlefield 5, I feel like once it hits the public servers, it's going to get a lot more chaotic. And like I said, it is a fairly small map, so it's probably going to be better suited for 16 and 32 players, rather than full-on 64-player Conquest servers. In saying that though, I've got to say I'm actually not too worried about this anymore, because with the new multi-mode playlists DICE have just started adding into the game, that should give us at least a little bit of variation. So look, if you're like me and you're not a fan of 64-player chaos, hopefully there should be other ways to enjoy Marita on modes other than just Conquest. But anyway guys, that just about wraps up this quick map review, so as always, make sure you let me know what you think about Marita in the comment section below. Does this look like the kind of map that you'd want to play, or maybe you might be a fan of bigger maps like, for example, Al Sundan? Let me know what you think down below. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and please feel free to check out the links in the description if you want to see any more of these videos. And also don't forget you can find my Twitter and Discord links down there as well if you want to keep in touch. And as always, until next time, see you later, and have a good one.